Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you watched my last video about this case here from KXRORS, then you might remember me saying this. This is the third case from KXRORS that I have reviewed, and I have a feeling it won't be the last. They are releasing what seems like a case every few months, so I'm sure a new one is just around the corner. Well, here we are a few months later, and they've released a new case, the M02. I'm Jesse, this is Bartman's Bits, and today we are looking at yet another case from KXRORS. So what sets this apart from the rest of the cases in their lineup and from all the other SFF cases on the market? For one, it's $90. Two, it comes with a tempered glass side panel. And finally, it offers compatibility with full-size ATX power supplies. Now, that last part might be a bigger deal than you think because there is a significant cost difference between the smaller SFX form factor and the much more common and bigger ATX. Taking a look on Newegg, we can see that something like a 750 watt gold power supply will run you around $100. That same wattage and gold standard will cost $150 or more for the SFX form factor. Now that really may not seem like much, but if you're on a budget, $50 can really make a difference. That might be like a splash of RGB or maybe an extra terabyte of storage. Not every case out there has this option, and the fact that KXRORS has included this versatility in their last few cases shows that they are catering to a more flexible audience. Now we all want the answer to the thumbnail, so let's see what this case is capable of holding. It's mini ITX, so only mini ITX motherboards. That's the obvious one. Now it gets a little more interesting. The power supply can either be SFX or ATX with a pretty large asterisk. If you opt for the full-size ATX, then you will have to deal with full-size cables. Not exactly easy in this small of a case. If you opt for the SFX route, you will need an adapter to go from SFX to ATX, which is not included. Luckily for me, I've got a 3D printer sitting over there, and the geniuses on Thingiverse have designed exactly what I need. Quick bit of advice if you choose this path: pick a high temp material like ABS to avoid your shiny new mount melting. It can get pretty toasty inside this case, as you'll see later in the video. The M02 can accommodate 3 SSDs in the mounting locations here, here, and here. I won't be using this on this build, but the option is there for those who need it. Onto the graphics card. So you saw the one I put in the thumbnail, right? That really small Dell 3090. It was so close to fitting, but this case is just a hair too small in length. I really wanted this to fit, and I may go back sometime in the future and just kind of shave down the back end of that 3090. For now, 3060 Ti it is. With the SFX power supply, there is room for graphics cards with a length of 262 millimeters. If you do use the ATX power supply, then you need to shorten up the GPU to give space for the cable. KXRORS mentions on Amazon that a 2-slot card can fit in this case, and that allows for virtually no limitations, even with some of the most popular running hardware. Well, let me just correct that for y'all. This case can fit very specific GPUs depending on the chosen power supply. Moving on, CPU cooler is another very specific limitation. 130 millimeters tall. Now, there are plenty of coolers out there that will fit this restriction, but I had to choose one of the best, so Noctua. Because I am not being smart about this, 12900K, baby! What's the worst that can happen, right? So to give this CPU a fighting chance against thermals, I will also be putting one of those socket mounty thingies on there to evenly distribute the cooling potential of the NH-U9S. Will it be enough? Nah, probably not. We will see later in the video. Fan placement is a bit thin in this case, and I do mean that literally. A single slim 120 can be fit on the top. Keep in mind that if you do this, you'll be left with 4 screws sticking out on the top. Same goes for the back. You can mount a full fat 90mm fan back there, but the screw heads will also be showing. Mine are black because that's what I had laying around. Silver or white would look much better. And that's it. No more space available. And to be honest, if you put in the correct components, like say a 14600, you don't even really need those additional fans. On the front panel, there is a power button and a USB 3 Type A port. No USB-C or 3.5mm jack to be found. As a creator that regularly uses USB-C for various like hard drive connections and card readers, lacking this input is a real bummer. Look at that USB-C connection sitting on the motherboard. How sad is that? Let's get this thing built up and put through the ringer. Now that it's built and ready to rock, how did it perform? Thermal throttling is the name of the game here, and I was getting a lot of it. Cinebench runs, throttle. Any gaming, throttle. My issue here is that the cooling capacity of the U9S just cannot compete with the 3 or 4 really hot cores in the 12900K. A simple fix for this would be to limit the frequency of these cores so they stay a bit cooler. Did I do this? Nah. I've got a billion other projects on my plate, so no tweaking was done. A quick note for good thermals is the orientation of your PSU. The way I have it installed here is not okay, and something I didn't realize until this thing shut off mid-game. In this orientation, the fan is directly up against the front panel. No airflow leads to a piping hot PSU and eventual thermal shutdown. I can say with confidence that this PSU does in fact shut off when it gets hot. Now that it's flipped around, you can see the general airflow path I am going for. In from the back, through the tower, then up out of the top. PSU pulls in from the back, as well as vents out the top. GPU pulls in from the bottom and vents all over the place like GPUs do. Freaking GPUs. That leads me to the next topic. Noise. The 138mm cooler height limits your fan options on the tower to 90mm. 140mm fans are quiet. 120mm fans are louder. 90mm fans aren't just louder still, they are loud in a pitch that can really pierce your ears. When the temps start to rise and those fans spool up, it becomes unbearable. Here is the noise at idle. Now gaming. And finally in a run of Cinebench and Superposition together. That last one there isn't really a reflection of everyday use, but could be if your room is on the warmer side. You will start to notice a trend here. This case isn't designed for top tier hardware. Match your CPU TDP to the cooler you choose to make sure you don't run things too hot. If you play by the rules, this case will provide the necessary airflow to keep things cool at lower fan speeds. All right, so build quality. It's pretty good. No flaking or bent metal on the unit that I received. I have seen some complaints about that on Amazon though. The tempered glass panel has some foam around the edges where it meets up with the case. There's feet on the bottom which keeps the case up off the floor and gives a little more breathing room for the GPU. There are magnetic dust filters on the bottom and one smaller one on the side, which is handy for keeping this clean. I'm gonna ask you all what you think of the looks. I went with the white and black, no RGB theme here, and I think my style is changing. The less RGB I have in my computer, the happier I am becoming. Bottom line here, put the correct hardware in this case and you'll be more than happy with the thermals. If you overdo it like I did, your hardware and your ears will suffer. Time to be brutally honest. $89 for this is too much. That is the same price as the Fractal Pop Mini Air, which comes with fans, has radiator support, and so much more. True, it's also quite a bit bigger than the M02, but if space is a big concern, there are other cheaper options out there with the same features. The price on this needs to be around $60 to be competitive. So at the current $90, it might be time to take a look at other options available. I've liked the cases from KXRORS in the past, and the looks of this one and the build quality is on par with the rest of their lineup. But I think the price for what you get kind of misses the mark on this specific model. Now, it's entirely possible that that price may come down a little bit. So when it does, this might look like a more attractive option. If you do like the looks of this case, well, head down to the description. There's going to be a link to the KXRORS Amazon page where you can pick one up for yourself. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.